Every myth hides a warning, not about war, not about death, but about the moment when innocence ends and consciousness begins. The forbidden fruit, Pandora's jar, Prometheus' fire, all ask the same question: what price will you pay to see the truth? In every tradition there comes a moment when innocence ends. It does not begin with bloodshed or war, but with curiosity, with the quiet arrival of a question. In the Garden of Eden, that question came through the serpent's whisper. The fruit itself was never the point. What mattered was what it represented: knowledge, autonomy, and the ability to perceive rather than to obey. The first lie was not spoken by the serpent. It was the assumption that awareness could come without consequence. To know is always to be changed. To take the fruit is to become accountable, and that is the true curse, the weight of consciousness. The Greeks told a similar story with Pandora. She was given a jar with strict instructions to keep it closed. The gods knew she would open it. They gave it to her because they wanted her to fail. And when she did, all of humanity inherited the cost: sickness, despair, betrayal, mortality. Only one thing remained at the bottom: hope. Pandora is not a figure of evil. She is the human impulse to know, even when that knowledge burns. Her story reminds us that curiosity is both the spark of creation and the seed of catastrophe. Prometheus carried the same theme when he stole fire from Olympus. Fire was not just warmth, it was illumination, the ability to cook, to forge, to build, to imagine. For giving humanity the divine flame, he was punished with endless torment. His liver was devoured daily by an eagle, only to grow back each night. Yet Prometheus was not a villain, he was a mirror. His myth teaches us that awakening always carries pain. Once the light has been given, we can no longer live in darkness. And then there is the serpent again. What if it never lied? You will not surely die, it said, and Adam and Eve did not die, not immediately. What changed was their awareness. They discovered shame, separation, and the vulnerability of being naked in a world that now felt divided. Before the fruit, there was unity. Afterward, there was duality, the beginning of the divided self. The serpent told the truth, but it was a truth that wounded. Knowledge opened their eyes, but not their wisdom. And isn't that how awakening usually comes to us? Through sight without preparation, power without readiness. This is why myths of forbidden knowledge are always tragic. Once you know, you cannot unknow. Once you see hypocrisy, you cannot mistake it for justice again. Once you recognize manipulation, you cannot confuse it with care. Awakening exiles you from the comfort of blindness. The child in you dies, not through violence, but through revelation. And the adult is born, carrying the burden of knowing. The first scar left by that burden was shame. Adam and Eve covered themselves. They hid from God and felt unworthy. Shame is not about actions, as guilt is. Shame is about identity. It whispers, "You are wrong." This split between what we are and what we think we should be became the foundation of masks, perfectionism, and self-denial. From that moment, humanity carried the wound of trying to escape itself. But what if the fall was not punishment at all? What if it was initiation? A fruit must fall from the tree to grow into something new. A soul must fall from innocence to learn integrity. The exile from Eden was not rejection. It was evolution. You were not cast out to be destroyed. You were sent into the world to learn choice. The serpent did not ruin you. It awakened you. And in awakening, the first lie died, the lie that you were ever meant to stay asleep. The Sumerians told a story of Enki, god of wisdom and water. He possessed the me, the raw powers of civilization. They were not to be shared, yet he gave them away to Inanna, goddess of passion and transformation. Whether through weakness or love, he released them. Priesthood, music, war, creation, even destruction. Like Prometheus, he broke the rules of the divine. And once knowledge left his hands, it could never be taken back. The world was forever changed. Each of these myths begins with a boundary set by the gods and broken by desire. The forbiddance is always offered, and humanity always accepts. The true lie is not in the offer, but in the belief that awareness can be gained without loss. Innocence is never preserved. It is exchanged for something heavier and truer. Eden was never a place you could return to. It was a state of unknowing, and once you awaken, you no longer belong inside it. Awakening, then, is not triumph but grief. You mourn what you can no longer be. You grieve the comfort of illusion, the simplicity of blindness. To awaken is to bury the self that lived before, and most resist this grief. They cling to the lie, not because they believe it, but because they cannot face the death of who they once were. To see clearly is to suffer differently. You begin to notice manipulation behind kindness, fear beneath control, self-interest beneath love. And in that vision you see yourself too, your own silences rooted in fear, your own kindness used as currency. Awakening strips you not only of illusions about the world, but of illusions about yourself. And that is why so many prefer to stay asleep. In every myth, the origin place is sealed. Eden is guarded, Pandora's jar cannot be closed. Prometheus cannot return the fire, and Enki cannot reclaim what he gave away. The garden becomes a grave for the self that once belonged there. The place is unchanged, but you are not. That is the true fall, not from grace, but from simplicity. If the forbidden's fruit was never about eating, but about seeing, then your own first lie has already been told. The only question left is what you'll do with the truth now. The first lie is already broken. The question is what you will do with the truth you now carry. If you are ready to walk further into the myths, follow and let the next story find you.